So today we will be looking at what you must do in the next 10 days of your preparation. Because these 10 days are going to be very critical for you in terms of what you should do and what you cannot do. First and foremost, what you must remember is that you should never panic. You should never panic, because the moment you start looking at the things, you think that you have not studied most of the things. You think that you could not remember most of the things, and you think that it is difficult for you. So that is the reason why what you must remember is that never panic. Make sure that you retain confidence and faith in yourself. In fact, the most important part of preparation is always psychological, because with presence of mind and peace of mind, you can do most of the things very easily. So never panic. Retain confidence in yourself. Coming back to the specifics, as you can see, this year's cutoff also, you have to get only net 50 questions right. Net you have to get only 50 questions right, not more than that. So don't unnecessarily think about all 100 questions in the examination. Don't unnecessarily think about all the 100 questions. There will be so many questions for which you don't know anything, either the question or the answer. So you should not unnecessarily get into that negative mindset. Remember that you have to get only 50 questions right. To be on the safer side, you must be getting 110 marks. 110 marks means 12 marks more than the cutoff. People mostly clear with 0.33 marks also. So make sure that you are not getting into that kind of negative mindset. Make sure that you are not unnecessarily worrying about all the things. Next, what else you are expected to do in the coming 10 days? The fourth important point you have to remember is that, as I keep on mentioning all the time, identify your strong areas and revise them in the coming 10 days. Identify all your strong areas. As we mentioned, polity can be a very strong area. Economy can be your strong area. IR can be your strong area, international relations. Modern history can be your strong area. Government schemes and programs can be your strong area. And a little bit of geography and environment can be strong area. Just revise them. Make sure that you are revising all these things. For example, in polity, look at the broader aspects. As you can see in all the previous year's question papers in polity, UPSC is not going too deep into the questions of polity. If they are giving around 12 to 15 questions, 10 questions you can easily answer, provided you have a broad perspective about polity. Of course, along with a little bit of analytical thinking. So don't unnecessarily go too deep into all these things. This is where enough people commit mistakes. It would be a classic case of missing the woods for the trees. In this case, you will be missing the forest also. So make sure that you are not unnecessarily getting into micro details. Remember one thing, if you cannot answer that question, I repeat, if you cannot answer that question, at least 99% of others also will not be able to answer that question. With the kind of preparation you have that kind of confidence in yourself. So don't unnecessarily fret over these minor details. This is where again a very important thing that you should keep in mind, that is, you can stop practicing those practice papers, practice tests of various coaching institutes. In the coming 10 days, make sure that you are not at all practicing these test papers of various coaching institutes. It would unnecessarily dent your confidence. It would create self-doubts. It would hamper your preparation. Ultimately, it can lead to your downfall also. So make sure that you are not practicing them. Because as you can see, in our Telegram group also, they keep on discussing. Most of these practice questions are not relevant at all. They try to complicate unnecessarily the small things by changing a word here or there. And in the process, it makes you, less confident about the entire process. Not at all practice these test papers of the coaching institutes. Then what should you do? As I mentioned again, take last 15 years of UPSC papers related to these things. And of course, leaving out the current events of that particular year. I am talking about the conceptual questions. Take those questions and try to do them again and again and again. Make sure that you are able to get them right, because UPSC always asks only relevant questions. This is another important factor that you have to keep in mind. You are only practicing UPSC questions in the next, say, 1 week or so. For example, take the question of polity. Take all the 15-20 years of polity questions and try to do them and make sure that you are getting 90% of the questions right of UPSC. Same is the case with economy, mostly conceptual questions. Same is the case with history. You can do modern history, ancient history, culture and everything else. Same is the case with other static aspects of the syllabus, physical geography or environment. Make sure that you are only practicing these questions. This is another important thing that you have to keep in mind. Next thing that you have to keep in mind is revise government documents like economic survey, like budget, like this India yearbook important chapters, like NCERT books on history. I am only talking about NCERT, whether it is history or geography or economy or anything else, or even polity, NCERT books. You revise them as many times as you can in these 10 days, in the coming 10 days. Revise them. This is very important. Why? Because if the question is asked from the areas wherein you have put in a lot of effort, you should never get them wrong. When will you be able to do that? Only when you revise them. In the next 10 days, what my sincere suggestion to you would be that make sure that you are not reading unnecessarily new things. Revise, revise, and revise. Very, very important. Make sure that you are not unnecessarily reading too many other things, because if you read them now also, it would be difficult for you to remember them by the time you go to the examination. That is the reason why instead of reading new things, revise the old. And in the old, these are the things which you have to focus on. You can revise these government schemes. So these are things, keep on revising them as many times as you can. Especially schemes of the government in the last 2 years. Thanks to our Prime Minister's obsession with new schemes, we have a huge number of schemes. Take last 2 years schemes, revise them. And of course, during this lockdown period, the government had come out with so many ordinances which are being right now converted into legislations. You revise all of them. You better revise all of them. Whether it is reforms in the labor sector, whether the 3 important legislations related to agriculture, and whether it is the stimulus packages that the government has announced for different sectors, whether it is the condition of the financial sector and the reforms announced by RBI. For example, Parliament has passed recently this bill, bringing the cooperative banks under the purview of RBI. The question will be asked, which among the following are true about the cooperative banks? They will give you 1, 2, 3, 4. The question may not be related to the bill that has been passed. The question that can be asked is about the history of the bill. What happened in the past? Which among the following are true about these cooperative banks? DCCBs. So this is what you must do in this 1 week and 10 days time. Revise those the important legislations, ordinances. Definitely you can expect 5 to 6 questions from those legislations and ordinances. Since nobody talks about them, our Prime Minister would feel bad about all these things, and he would take revenge against you people only. That is the reason why every year in UPS examination you can see many questions about these government schemes, ordinances, and laws, rules, and regulations. You will become the victim. Make sure that you don't become the victim. You revise all of them, and make sure that you are not only reading what is happening at present, you are going back to the past also. For example, take the case of Essential Commodities Act. They would say, which among the following are true about the recent ordinance passed by the Parliament related to Essential Commodities Act? They will give you 1, 2, 3, 4. And the first one will be about Essential Commodities Act has been passed by the Parliament for the first time in 1955. They may change the date to 1956. Like that, they will give you the questions. Make sure that you are thorough with all those facts. And this 1 week should be fully utilized to remember, revise, and recall all of them. Next important thing that you have to remember in the next 1 week or so, is this. Again, I am coming to the psychological aspects. Make sure that you are able to eat and sleep properly. And it is very, very difficult. You must keep your physical and mental health. You must ensure that you are in the best of your physical and mental health. And to ensure that, take out time, do something else. Otherwise, if 24 hours you keep on thinking about it, obviously it can only result in more uncertainties and fears. So make sure that you're just keeping your mind off of all these things. Make sure that you are able to sleep properly. And it is difficult, but you can try. This is another important thing that you have to remember. 10th important thing that you have to remember in these coming 10 days is practice at least 3 papers of CSAT. Sit for 2 hours. 2013 to 2019. Take any 3 of those papers of CSAT. Sit for 2 hours and do it. If in the first 2 tests, if you are scoring safely above the cutoff, you don't need to do the third one. So if you are scoring out of 200, say around more than 100 in the first 2 tests, third one is not required. But make sure that you are doing the CSAT, because every year quite a good number of students fail to clear CSAT. I don't want you to commit that kind of blunder. Practice at least 3. As I said, if you, in 2 papers, if you are scoring above 100, then you don't have to do the third one. Practice at least 2 papers of CSAT. This is another thing that you have to keep in mind in the next 10 days. What else you have to do in the coming 10 days? What else you have to do? Next thing that you have to remember is revise all these multilateral institutions. United Nations has so many institutions. For example, this year WHO, World Health Organization, is under severe criticism. So you will have one question about WHO regarding its management, its powers, and its constitution. Make sure that you are revising all of them. Like this, you have to go through all those allied institutions of United Nations. Make sure that you are going through all of them. Similarly, India has refused to sign RCEP. There can be questions about RCEP. They will say that which among the following are true about RCEP. And one of the points they would be giving is one of the reasons given by India why it has not signed RCEP. For example, India has refused to sign RCEP because India wanted more protection for its products. Especially, India does not want to open its export market, especially from Chinese products. So you will have these kind of questions that they will be asking. This is what is called current affairs and nothing else. And then also revise those indices, global indices. Revise all of them, and revise those indices which are there in the news in the last 1 year or so, which are related to India. For example, the ease of doing business index. It has been in the news. What the criticism here is that even though India's rank has improved drastically, it has not resulted in huge amount of inflow of investment, foreign investment into the country. There is also criticism about the parameters used to calculate this ease of doing business index. Definitely the question will be asked. Which among all of the following are the parameters used to calculate ease of doing business? It is said that India has simply manipulated some of those parameters because of which India's ranking has improved, but at the ground level the situation has not improved drastically. the most important reason why investment in India has not picked up. You can find out all those things. Similarly, all the major issues in the last 6 months, the issues related to migrant deaths. What are the legislations regarding migrants? What are social security mechanisms for people? What are the remedial measures taken by the government? All of them are part of current affairs. Make sure that you are revising all of them, because you don't want to lose marks in those aspects. Next thing that you have to do is the latest controversies about GST compensation, latest controversies about the financial sector, latest controversies about in the last few days you have seen in newspapers about these financial sector crimes. All of them, just have a quick glance over all those things, because some of them have been there for a long time. So UPSC might have noticed all of them and they can give you as a question solves. Make sure that you are revising all of them. So people ask me, should they be reading newspaper or not? Even I would tell that even the day before you go to the examination, just have a cursory glance at the newspaper, because the newspaper does not carry only today's or yesterday's news. It will have news from the past also. If you find any news worth enough from the past, you just remember it. So every day you spend at least 15-20 minutes reading the newspaper, not more than that. 15 minutes is fine. Especially look at the facts from the newspapers, and then focus a little bit more on this environment, and focus more on diseases, epidemics and pandemics and all kinds of diseases. Focus a little bit more on these things. Environmental degradation has become one of the major issues, so a little bit more on the structural aspects in the form of the legislations of the central and state governments, as well as in the form of global summits and global agreements to protect ecological systems around the world, and also the dynamic aspects like different types of pollution, food pollution, water pollution, air pollution, and spreading of diseases because of all these pollutions. Just focus on them a little bit more. This is another thing that you can focus on. You must remember that United Nations is celebrating a 75th year of its formation. It had come into existence in 1945. If you are reading newspapers in the last 2 days, this 75 years of United Nations is being celebrated. Definitely you'll have 1 or 2 questions about United Nations directly. At least one question. You don't want to lose marks. UPSC always remembers these kind of anniversaries. United Nations, very, very important. And also, as part of this, look at all those people who have died in the last 1 year or so. There can be questions about them. Personalities, there can be questions about them. You find this information in any of the general knowledge books. I think some time back, you can find out all those personalities who have contributed within the country as well as outside the country to the overall development. Just try to remember them. And also remember, in the last 2 days of your preparation, that is say next Friday Saturday, it would be better if you don't read anything else. Or next Friday and Saturday, remember all these general knowledge points, all those Nobel Prize winners this year, last year. Then there's a Booker's Prize, Pulitzer Prize, and then in India, within the country, all these Bharat Ratnas and then Khel Ratnas and everyone else. And also try to remember these winners of various Grand Slams. Last year we had a Cricket World Cup, so there can be questions about Cricket World Cup. Try to remember all these events and devote last 2 days of your preparation for all these facts. Not now, last 2 days. Why I am saying last 2 days? Because you can recall them, for at least 48 hours. If you are reading out on a Friday, definitely you will be able to recall till Sunday, which is more than enough for you. But don't read them now. All these important legislations, all important facts, keep it for those last 2 days. All of them, just keep it for last 2 days. This is what you must do. Last 2 days of your preparation, you are not reading anything new, you are not reading anything special, only revising all the facts. Even history also, remember revise all those facts. UPSC nowadays is not focusing a lot more facts on history. If at all they are asking any fact in history, nobody would know, including the person who has committed that particular action. Nobody would remember. So don't worry about them. All the major facts only you have to remember. Nothing else. This is another thing that you have to do in the last 2 days. Just revise all the GK facts in the last 2 days. And then, as I said, in polity also, remember important judgments. Supreme Court had come out with so many judgments in the last 1 year or so, starting with this judgment on Ayodhya. It had come out with so many landmark judgments. Of course, so many controversies are also there. Try to remember them and try to go back to the original position from the Constitution. Any controversy, what UPSC does is, they will take that controversy and they will ask the questions related to factual position about that controversy from the Constitution. That is what you have to remember. The question can be, which among the following are true about the powers of Chief Justice of India? Chief Justice is the master of the roster. Chief Justice has the power to allocate cases to different judges and different benches. Third, Chief Justice can sit on the benches which are directly related to his own crimes. Is the third one right or wrong? That you will have to see. Because one of the former Chief Justices, were the head of a bench which were directly looking into the sexual abuses against him. Does the Constitution prevent the Chief Justice from doing all the things? No. That is where we talk about propriety. That's a different thing. But the question will be about the constitutional position. So you have to remember all these things. You have to look into these things in a very in-depth manner. This is another important fact that you have to remember. As I said, all these things you are leaving it to the last 2 days of your preparation. Next thing that you have to remember is, when you go to the examination hall, this is again a psychological aspect. You must go to the examination hall with the conviction that next Sunday evening 5 o'clock you will be starting your preparation for the main examination without worrying about the outcome of the prelims. You must have that kind of 100% conviction that you will be able to clear the examination. Unless you have confidence in yourself, you can never succeed. Make sure that you have that kind of confidence in yourself. In the examination hall also, you have different sets A, B, C, D. For some, the set can start with polity questions. Next, it can start with history questions. Third, it can start with geography. Or fourth, it can start with anything else. So what you have to remember here is that normally what UPSC does is that they'll give all the political questions at one place. Sometimes they might put them at different places, but mostly this is the trend. So that is the reason why when they give the question paper, first look for those sections wherein you are confident. As I keep on saying, you have to get only 50 questions right. In the examination, if you are very confident about your polity paper, polity section, just look for that polity questions, then answer them. So if you are, and you know the answer also, for 99% of the questions you know the answer also. So when UPSC, so when you are able to get those 90% of the questions right, automatically it improves your confidence. Instead of that, if you start answering the questions related to environment or geography or science and technology, which you may not know, then it can dent your confidence unnecessarily. That is the reason why when you are answering the questions, 2 hours time is more than enough. Please remember, 2 hours time is more than enough for you to answer all the questions. So you don't have to worry about the time. Identify the questions. Once you are confident about your polity, just try to look for the polity questions and answer them very easily. Because if they are asking around 12 to 15 questions from polity, 8 to 10 questions can be answered very easily, because most of them are about simple facts about polity. It does not take much of time. We don't take much of time. Similarly, go to economy, or go to modern history, or go to IR, or go to any other topics. Once you answer all these questions, then go to other questions. That is very, very important. Identifying the questions would be very, very important, because as I said that it can give you a lot of confidence. Other questions also, you will be able to, you'll be able to guess answers rightly for at least a few questions. You have 1/3 negative marking. For example, if you are taking chance with 4 questions, if you are getting 1 question right and 3 questions wrong, at the end of the day, the net marks will be 0, right? If you are getting the 1 question right, you will be getting 2 marks. If you are getting it wrong, you will be losing 0.66 marks. So combine all the 3, so 1/3. So at the end of the day, if you are taking chance with 4 questions, and if you get even 1 question right, the net score will be 0. So from that perspective, you can take chances with some questions. Of course, if you get all the questions wrong, that will be problematic. But as I said, you take chances with those questions wherein you are familiar with at least 50% of the answer, if not 75%. You can make those calculated guesses in the examination. Make sure that you are taking those calculated risks. But this question of a calculated risk will arise only after you are finished with all your strong areas. Remember, the question of calculated risk will arise only after you are finished with strong areas. You can easily count also the number of questions that you will be getting right. And as I said that you can answer comfortably 85 questions. Some people will go up to 90 also. If you are confident, you can go up, but 85, between 85 to 90 is fine. Because there is no point in unnecessarily attempting those questions for which you don't know anything at all. That means you are losing unnecessarily 0.33 marks. As I said, take a calculated risk only when you know 50% of the questions or 50% of the answers. This is what you have to remember. And what else you should do in the next coming 1 week or so? Next thing what you should do is that in the next coming week or so, make sure that you are at least revising at least for 8 to 10 hours a day, which includes attempting the CSAT papers and everything, attempting CSAT papers, attempting previous year's questions from UPS, 8 to 10 hours a day. Say today is Wednesday, till next Thursday you do that. And the next Friday and Saturday, as I said, 10 hours only spend on revising the facts, 10 plus 10, 20 hours. Or Saturday, only 5 hours, around 15 hours spend only on revising the facts. Revise them not 1 or 2, at least 10 times. So that when the examination, when you see that question, you should be able to answer the question in exactly 10 seconds. So that you have time for other questions also. This is another thing that you have to remember. In the next 1 week till next Thursday, it should be about around 10 hours. And next Friday and Saturday, it should be around, both the days combined together, around 15 hours. It's only completely revising. What are the things that you have to revise? As we have mentioned here, all those things. So this is what I expect you to do. And one more thing, don't unnecessarily speak to your friends. If they say that I have read all these things and then if they ask you whether you have read those things or not, if you have not read it, it unnecessarily dents your confidence. Again, I said, don't unnecessarily do all those practice tests. It can be fatal. Have more faith in yourself. Have more faith in your own preparation, rather than asking every other person what they are doing. At the end of the day, your own hard work will determine your success, not what others are doing. Remember the fact, remember this basic principle. If the question is difficult for you, it will be difficult for everyone. It is as simple as that one. So you don't have to unnecessarily think that everyone else is answering that question and I am not answering the question, so I might lose out. It's not the case. If that is the case, cutoff cannot be 98 marks only. So if the question is difficult for you, it will be difficult for everyone. If the question is easy for you, it does not mean that it will be easy for everyone, because you might have read more. So go to the examination hall with that confidence. Very, very important. And of course, last but not least, if you have faith in God, pray. Because at least it can give you peace of mind. That's very important. With this, I think I would conclude our discussion about what you should be doing in the 10 days or so. And in between, if you have any doubts, you can always call me, or you can post your doubts on our Telegram group. I am always there to answer your calls. Thank you very much. Best of luck. See you in main examination.